Y'all ready? Welcome to the final round of the 2013 National Debate Tournament. The judges for this evening's debate are Whit Whitmore from the University of Michigan, Jordan Foley from the University of Michigan, Lindsay Shook from Central Florida University, Eric Short from the University of Minnesota, and the chair of the panel will be Scott Harris. Scott first judged the final round of the National Debate Tournament in 1985. The affirmative team in tonight's debate will be Emporia State University, represented by Brian Washington and Elijah Smith. And the negative will be Northwestern University, represented by Arjun, Vellayappan, and Petyon.
As of course, we always do the thank you. First, I want to thank God. Really gives me an inspiration meeting. For some administrative thanks, first I want to thank Weber State University for providing what is the best NDT of the decade. I want to thank Omar and Veronica and all of the Weber State students that made this environment so conducive to not only debate, but my specific model of debate, and I thank your community for that. I want to thank the National Debate Tournament and the committee for providing this opportunity not only to Elijah and myself, but to other individuals that never thought that they would be in this position. Also, I'd like to thank Idaho State University again for a great CETA. It was awesome. I want to thank the tournament, the hotel, and the university staff. I also would like to thank my mother, Rhonda, and my grandmother, Etta. I know that you're here with me in spirit. I want to thank my family that is still literally here with us. My dad, my sister Kiki, my brother Gio, and my beloved nephews, Arian and Bub. I love you all. I want to thank my partner, Alex Curley, who requires me to value myself more and more every day. I want to thank Jane Reinhardt, Central High School Debate, and especially Debate Kansas City for giving a student like me a chance. I want to extend a huge thank you to Sam Mauer, Emporia State University, for providing me with an excellent education and an opportunity to talk about me. I want to thank Rashad Evans for being a role model for me, for being a mentor, a friend, and just someone who you can confide in. I want to thank Shanera and everything that she does for us, and for her providing a theoretical framework for our struggles. I also want to thank the movement for their participation. I want to thank my Emporia folks, Shay, Deja, Cam, G.T., Lee, James, Taylor, and all of the others I forgot to name. I also want to give a shout out to a few of my good friends, Danny Christensen, Eric Christensen, and all of my Nebraska folks. I love them too. And to everybody that was inspirational in my career, JT, Gabe, Jackie, I don't know, everybody, I thank you so much. Again, I know I reiterated this at Peter. I didn't know they got into a car wreck, so I felt like a huge asshole. But I know, Toya, you're safe at home this time, and I love you, and I thank you for everything that you have done. You've taught me the power of activism and advocacy. I want to thank my previous debate partners, my shining Toya Bass, Matt Costas, and my shining Thomas, for being my partners in crime. I want to thank Northwestern for providing me the opportunity to make debate a home again for myself in my last debate. I want to thank all of y'all for y'all support kind words, the hugs. I thank you all deeply. It's meant a lot to me. And not last, I also want to thank Curtin Lockery for everything that they have done for us. Y'all have been awesome. Fairy godmother, we love you. And last but not least, I want to thank Elijah, somebody who got on the fucking plane in the middle of January to come out and help me finish my debate career. You're a huge inspiration, and my brother, I love you. Let's rock and roll this shit. Referenced the green farmlands of Kansas when she told audiences there was no place like home in the West Divide. But in the West, the yellow brick road was walked by Miss Diana Ross, a darky from the concrete jungle of Harlem, a school teacher who gave back to the community in which she resided, but who was too afraid of leaving home to venture into a world beyond it. Introduced to a darky that has never gone further than 125th Street, we learned that a precondition for truly being at home is the safety that we find in those around us, because home is not a place, but rather a structure of support. As Dorothy opens the door to her New York residence to take out the trash after a Thanksgiving dinner, Toto runs headlong into a blizzard that transports the pair to the magical land of Oz, where a pair of silver slippers snatched from the corpse of ever meaning the Wicked Witch of the East, and the magic of the Wind seemed to be her only hope for finding her way back home. Along the journey with the Lion, the Tin Man, and the Scarecrow, the jumbo cast of misfits teaches us that no matter where we are going, we can't get there alone. Faced with the yellow brick road lined with the limitless number of off-duty taxi cabs and miles of open road, Dorothy, like the rest of us, gets on down the road for her search for the home place. And just like Dorothy, I was on my journey to find home. The house, or should I say the many houses that I resided at, were just that, houses. I found it hard to find comfort in the battle woman shelter where I knew no one and everyone was scared to talk to each other, but shockingly enough, I found it hard to find a place of peace and tranquility in the dysfunctional household where crack was being sold out of the dining room window. Mike slept with me in the bed at night, and food was his present just as much as my biological father was. Nothing was stable. Nothing was the same. Every day was so different that I never got a time to find a place called home. It wasn't until I found that room 131 in Central High School that I started to feel somewhat at home. I say somewhat because I think that we can all relate to that first feeling of that first 8-minute speech by yourself. It's a scary thing. But after several days of practice with the other students at Central High School, it was time for our first competition, the Central High School Urban Debate League Tournament. All the inner city kids piled into the cafeteria, all very chatty just to shake the nerves of the first competition. The things that eased our minds the most was to know that each student in that cafeteria was going through a trial of their own. I found new friends. I found family members, and I thought I found a place called home. But after 2 debate Kansas City tournaments, our coach decided that we were ready for national competition. I'll never forget loading up that bus and getting in that bus with the 3 other schools from the Urban Debate League and making our way to 35 North to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Once I arrived and stepped off the bus, I felt a chill. I didn't know if this was because of my hunger or just the freezing weather of Iowa. Whatever it was, I knew I had to shake it because it was time. I grabbed the tub off the bus and headed inside with the rest of the UDS kids. As we walked inside of the cafeteria, 250 Caucasian students stopped there talking and moving their lives and stared at us as we walked to the nearest table to put our stuff down. That was the first sign to me that debate here had to be something totally different. As the rounds and the tournaments and the years went past, I knew I needed to change the space that provided me and so many other students an escape from our households. A point in my career came when I had to put down the revisions to the Patriot Act, the Learn and Serve America grants, the subsidies, the visas, the democracy assistance, the energy production, and talk about this community. A lot of bright people get together every weekend on end to bounce ideas off each other's minds, but never once do we have a conversation about what takes place in cafeterias like the one I was in, and more importantly, what takes place in actual debates. I found that regardless of the style of debate that I engaged in, I could never just be rhyming. There was always a framework that I didn't need, a way to start my politics off better, of no way of evaluating me inside of debates. But then I had an epiphany. Just like those students that told me to functionally leave this activity, I had been here just as long as they had. We are all darkies trying to find our home here, but I was never able to have a debate in my house. So if I'm going to do something by the time this last debate is over, I'm going to bring debate back home. We're in 2008. For Young, the proper response is not to reject home, but to extend its positive values to everyone. Ideal of home should not be reduced to a mechanism of oppression. That home carries a core positive meaning that can and should be reclaimed. Bell Hooks agrees that home is associated with safety, but she gives a positive political meaning to these functions of home. Home places a site of resistance to dominating and exploiting social structures. The ability to resist dominating social structures requires a space beyond the full reach of those structures where different, more humane social relations can be lived and imagined. A safe home is something that in a just world would be accessible to everyone. Bell Hooks shows us how crucial the safety of a home can be in a site of protection from and resistance to oppression. I want to argue for the ideal of home as a site of risk, of connection, of sustaining relationship through conflict. We can recognize and affirm an ideal of home as a space of mutuality, conflict, of love, and its risk and its struggles of caring and conflictual connections to others, in particular in our political homes, including our identity politics, might be seen as places where we engage in the risk connection with each other, in conflictual, messy, dangerous, and intimate work of engagement with each other, engagement in dialogue and arguments and struggles and openness to vulnerability, to critique and self-critique, and to change with commitment to solidarity with each other that mediates our commitment to our shared struggles. Shifting to an ideal of home as a space where we risk connection might help us to set clear limits on conflict and risk so that these do not develop into violence. This might enable us to address the violence that is a response to the terror and anger at those who threaten our company and safety, and the violence that is an assertion of the right to dominate the other within the walls of the home. If we're not looking for the perfect safety, for an absolute privacy, for a return to the womb, for the mother who is the angel of the house, perhaps we can learn not to accept violence and oppression as the price of that dream. Perhaps we can imagine and embrace a different dream of a better home. If home is necessary for members of Greek communities to find the power to resist, then the break includes the possibility of becoming excited resistance for those who need it now. Our stylists ignored for engagement are not only inaccessible to discourage people from even attempting to find home, it is nearly impossible for disenfranchised individuals who have been trained to believe that they will never succeed to become attached to this activity when they don't feel welcome. Not only are their perspectives dismissed, but they themselves as people. We can never have an ethical government official that successfully interacts with communities of color when we train them to forego a simple hello for additional 5 seconds of prep. The current focus of the structure of debate is not those individuals who reside here means that the welcoming relationships at home are never present. Also, the form and content of arguments are structured by the politics of displacement that necessitates the search for home in the first place. Debaters have forgone the speech for the speech doc and spew horror stories that train us to be disempowered citizens that never act in the face of actual oppression. Our core model of debate is disconnected from the lived realities of those affected by structural violence. That makes this activity useless to those who need it and turns oppression into a game for those who are already here. Debate should not be a place of politics where we pretend that every other aspect of our life is left behind when we get on the van in the morning, but we should understand for some people that the personal is political. What Diana Ross was searching for wasn't just a crammed apartment in New York, but a site of community to mutually recover from the structural violence they witness on a daily basis. In fact, I think this is the true purpose of energy. When the Dorothys of the world think of energy, they don't think about thorium reactors, but the energy required to get out of bed and navigate the struggle. We all get our energy from home. Even the workers who run the power plant. So in a sense, all energy finds its origin at home. Instead of energy production, we need to direct our attention to home production here. Just like Dorothy and her friends, before we establish answers to larger questions about what happens with the home and what is needed for it, we have to find one. Debate has somewhat been that place for me, and I can say that honestly because I know debate more than anything else.
What can I tell people?
That's why I think the role of the value in this debate is for the judge to endorse the team that best performatively and methodologically brings debate back home. Unlike Dorothy, those excluded voices can't just click their silver slippers and fly away, which is why we use the Wiz as a 0 point that affirms our political practice and our vision of home. We have to make proactive efforts to be agents of change to ensure that this space and the knowledge produced here is accessible to all that need it. Judy Garland may not have much on the fabulous Diana Ross, over 100. She did have one thing right, and that there is no place, and I do mean no place, like home.
You say that you're unable to be... Yeah, sorry. You say you're unable to be Ryan in debates, and then you sort of use a phrase that I'm curious about. You said you're unable to be evaluated as Ryan in debates. Why is it productive to have judges evaluate us as individuals from a personal position. What does that mean?
Right. See, I never asked to be like evaluated like that in this particular space, and that's what I'm getting at. Is that when we get into these space about narrativity and stuff, we're always told that our narratives need to be what happens when we start comparing narratives. Our argument is not that there's an impact force to the narrative, rather that my personal experience informs the way I engage in politics and informs the reasons why I don't think that debate has become a productive side of pull for us, which is why we need to bring back that
So I guess my next question though is that should both sides present a form of narrative and discussion of the way their personal
You don't have to.
politics?
You don't
No,
have
I'm
to.
saying, sorry, I haven't gotten to the question. If both sides do that, how do judges make a determination about which team to vote for?
Again, it's about just understanding that the narrative informs the way in which we relate to these particular conversations. Then we get into a discussion about performance and methods. We think that aura is one that ties theory to the flesh and allows us to create our own side of home inside of this particular space.
Okay, I guess that is the next question I want to ask. You say that you should vote for the team that best brings debate back home and that yours is a performance that does that. What is the method that the 1AC uses to do that?
I think that we use the practice of the whiz that allows us to know that we need to ease on down the road together. We may have different ways of doing that, but for some individuals, the way in which they access their politics is being able to even speak out about this. It's been a time where hell, this is history right here. Black folks or black queer people especially have never been able to have this opportunity where they can speak out about their oppression inside of this particular state and be able to pose those questions and those criticisms that allow us to reflect on ourselves and this activity.
My next question then is, why is that intrinsically tied to voting for that movement? I understand the discussion is valuable and that bringing our positions in here is valuable, but why should that mean that the judges vote for you?
Yeah, I think that this is important, especially considering the magnitude of what this debate is about. This is the NDT championship, and I think that we have obviously had representation of certain individuals who have been able to determine what debate should be for certain individuals. They are able to make that determination. Our argument is that you should be able to just allow us to do us. Let us do us.
Okay.
In this particular space, it's the last opportunity you guys.
So my last question is, what if doing you and doing us is incompatible? What if those two stylistically don't sort of meet somewhere in the middle?
See, and that's part of our idea is that it's not an either or. Our argument is about this and, understanding that we perform in a matter of time, that we situate ourselves in a particular time. I am black, I'm gay, I'm Christian at a certain particular time. And so it's not a question of being able to create those either or distinctions, but rather more allowing for that embarrassed, etc. to exist inside of debate. Those forced choices is what forces people not to have home in debate.
Okay, I also have a bunch of people to thank for allowing us and me to reach this point. I think first the tournament, Omar, Veronica, Weber State did a great job hosting this NDT, made the experience really enjoyable, efficient. Thanks to John Fritsch, the entire NDT taproom staff, the NDT committee, the board of trustees. It seemed like everything went really smoothly. They've been doing a great job for a while. Thanks to my parents for giving me this opportunity, putting up with the craziness of my life and providing the resources to participate in this great activity. They don't really understand debate. They thought I should have been doing more math or biology probably, but they've come to accept that it's something I really value, and they've been extremely supportive of it ever since. Thanks to Lexington High School, Suo, Jack, Tyler, Sarah Sanchez, I think Chris Palmer somewhere in the room. They're really helped shape my experiences there and the foundation for some of my successes now, and really matter a lot to me. Thanks to all the judges that we've had and I've had who've given us really great advice, and our competitors throughout the year. They're what makes the debate awesome. They push us and me to perform my best, and those post-competitive debates are really what make a difference. Thanks to our opponents throughout the year, and Emporia specifically in this debate. They provided a great year of competition, and I'm 100% sure that this debate will be a great end to a fantastic season. Next, alumni and outside support for Northwestern debate is kind of unbelievable. the number of supporting messages we've gotten throughout this run from like Gottlieb, Sparacino, people I've like barely ever met. It's kind of awesome and really cool. Gottlieb actually randomly walked into the Hardy House like 3 weeks ago. It was just like Utah NDTs are lucky for Northwestern, so maybe he had something in the foresight there. The staff who brought the NDT was pretty awesome. We couldn't do it without them. Tim Baruch was a great logistics person throughout the year. He really leads purple. Ryan kind of taught me the tools of the trade to be a 2A. Aaron Hardy was our ordinal one last year, but now he's like our negative assassin. It was big, smooth, yet successful transition. Warden is really a true Northwestern Wildcat. He's an amazing debate mind, and we wouldn't have been able to get this far without him reading all of our plan text and making sure we didn't do dumb things. Bunton, I don't understand how you cut so many cards and how they're so good. I'm terrified when you cut the case when it comes far out, but we have to debate it. But thank you for all the advice and ideas you've given me. The microgrid app was pretty awesome. Fisher's killed it all year. Pep Tops, unbeatable legends, he's really been on top of his game. I can't thank you enough for all the times you've been a model, even if you don't know you have been. It's really made a difference for me. Staff, outside of Fitz and Hayden, you've been the biggest reason I'm here, I think. From sending me the NU pitch at the end of my senior year, which eventually helped convince me. It's really taught me a lot about being a 2A as well. And I couldn't have done it really without you. You put up with a lot of my bullshit. Listened to a ton of terrible speeches that I probably should have never given. Finished incessant lists of must-cut app answers before the next 10 minutes, which I don't know why you ever listen to those. And along with Fisher, I think you all truly are the model for our success, and you've been a great model for the team as well. In the context of the current team, NU Debate's really a family. We win and lose as a team. I'll never underappreciate the endless care everyone has and all the time they spend every Sunday night or whenever, just cutting cards, doing whatever we need. Our freshmen, Robel, Rachel, Nate, and Connor, who killed it all year. Sophomores, Mountain Jack, Badu, Phil, Jesse, Mara, came into Northwestern with me, have constantly been able to go above and beyond and help out. Zane and Seamir have led purple and white forever, and they're kind of awesome. There's older leadership that we kind of needed, and I want to mention Lane because despite him not being here and going in different directions, he's always going to be part of the Northwestern Debate family, and he's been giving great advice to us throughout this weekend as well. Thanks to Linda and Evan. They're the hardest working freshmen I've ever seen. Clearing at the NDT is pretty impressive. I think that's an amazing accomplishment for you all, and there's great things to come. Raheem really stepped up to the plate and did a great job in that tough time in transition. Miles, you and I really, I think, have it together, and you've been a beast, making a speaker transition in 2 ways has been amazing, and I've been very impressed. I think that I have to thank Fitz here. You wrote me off for going to Georgetown way before I'd given you any indication. You still believed in my ability to transition to a 2A in debate at the NDT. Getting to this point would have been impossible without your help. You're truly the best director I've ever imagined, and you have an amazing ability to kind of coach the perfect app debating. You can't really win without the pillars, and Fitz has instilled those in the team: character, commitment, teamwork, and hard work. Although I never had an opportunity to meet the Duck, I'm very sure he'd be proud of what Fitz has done with the program. Excellence as a habit rather than an endpoint is something he's instilled that's a little bit distinct from the pillars. That's what opened my eyes. He's embodied this principle, and because of that, I believe I'm a better student, debater, and person. There's no one else I'd rather be coached by, and this has gone on way too long. So last but not least, I have to thank Peyton, who I couldn't have done this without. She's been caring, understanding of crazy tendencies, and really just a great friend. For making sure I ate well and slept well before the NDT, which I tend not to do. I'll never forget how amazing you were throughout the last 2 years, and just hanging out, even going to cellar dinners or other things. I'm going to miss those a lot. She's taught me that there's more to debate than just winning and losing. It's more about the fun, putting it on the line in a community filled with great people who I truly love to engage with and talk to. And she's been a role model for me. That being said, I'm sure I'll still be giving her some sass about her old person sleep schedule and resistance to eating French fries when she's out dominating law school in the real world next year. If I forgot anyone, I'm really sorry. Thanks to anyone else who helped along the way, but it just really went too long. Thank you.
The affirmative failure to advance topical defense pro policy on men's debates, transformative and intellectual potential resolve implies a policy or legislative decision departure one American energy to resolve resolution and termination or decision to work resolve use to emphasize the fact that its policy may result in the adoption of resolution by legislative bodies. Energy production is only electricity creation from one of the 6 topic energy laws. 620 actions for energy falling in addition to differentiation of raw material attraction. This can encompass the process for production of energy. Energy production encompasses the process where sources are transformed into heat and power. And for our interpretation, first, a limited topic discussion that provides for equitable ground is key to productive inculcation of decision making and advocacy skills in every and all facets of life, even if their position is contestable. That's distinct from it being valuably debatable. That still provides room for flexibility, creativity, and innovation, but targets the discussion to avoid mere statements of fact. Tea debates also solve any possible term. Cyber and 2008 debates means of telling differences, so there must be confidence to everyone in agreement. There is no need for debates where it's no class, no debate, conference, questions without clear identification, question, general making your broad type of integration. How many do you think structurally? You think of any church participation in this debate is not likely to be productive without a focus on particular question. Demarcating sides, controversies must be seen clearly. Vague understanding results in unfocused deliberation and poor decisions. Evidence by the failure of Congress to make progress in the immigration debate without any focus on the decision. They would agree on the start in education without finding points of clarity or solution. A bribe session would follow, but if a vice president opposed, a more powerful area of discussion is opened up by simply placing focus search for a concrete solution to drive a productive debate, which facilitates effective decision making by placing limits on the decision. The basis of the argument should be clearly defined. If we merely talk about homelessness or warming, you're likely to have an interesting discussion, but not establish a profitable basis for argument. The statement resolved that the pen is mightier than the sword is debatable, yet it fails to provide a basis for argumentation. Although we now have general assumption is still too broad, the basis for argument can be faced in a debate. Purposes does not say debate should really avoid creative interpretation or that good debates do not occur over competing interpretation or controversy. In fact, these sorts of debates may be very engaging. The point of the debate is best solely by focusing on a particular point of difference. Second, discussion of specific policy questions is crucial for skills development. We control uniqueness. University students will already have preconceived notions and ideological notions of how the world operates. Government policy discussion is vital to force engagement with and resolution of competing perspectives to improve social outcomes. However, those outcomes may be defined and it breaks out of traditional pedagogical frameworks that causing students as agents of decision-making. Iceberg and say in 2012, government simulation provide less for students for educational simulation emphasis to learn the importance of understanding foreign protection, necessary compromise, crisis, exercise, force of first to overcome bureaucratic work, thinking more creatively about how the frame react, skills of imagination and ability to predict foreign interests remain critical of real policy for university students. Every tried to stimulate for exercise for students challenge assumptions about how the government to behave and how the government works. Educational literature based expanded on the benefits of training, hard engagement, right? Rating for typical lecture format and improving communication. Some of these should be even understanding by asking students to link back and theory, force participation, grapple issues, arise from world flexible role playing exercise and cards. Students to learn political facts, but they learn them in a more active role. Students actively research government decision simulation, sees how to contextualize and act on information. Third, switch side is key. Effective deliberation is only possible in a switch side debate format. Forces critical thinking and better advocacy of one's own position. This is Keller. It also does one debates have potential for promoting policy and in-depth knowledge of substantive topics. Debate skills translates to low activities such as testifying, debate, stimulating critical thinking by shaping students from tasks plan to be imperative to argue opposing points of view, to identify weaknesses in one's position, their reflective on thought, transition to static ideas, questioning, engaging by exposure of alternative views. Debate simulates evaluation of values underlying one's own position and independently is a voting issue or limits and ground our entire negative strategy based on the should question of the resolution. There are an infinite number of reasons that the scholarship of their advocacy could be a reason to vote affirmative. These all obviate the only principal strategy based on topical action. They overstretch our reason, run undermine tremendous for all debates. Effective decision making is a Trump impact. It's key to social improvements in every and all facets of life. That really 2008, if we assume to be possible without recourse to bound to reach agreement on policy, only discursive methods available stem from argument techniques not conclusive and need to demonstrate reasonable character conceptually for balance, make progress, and give way to wisdom. Complex problems assumption individual decision making the when concept to Somalia and when Bush authorized operation during freedom of issues, different methods to making each individual ultimate decision when individual one the president has two ways of making up his mind. The one turns subordinates, the other is to sit at the hearing or is to decide after his if we much harder method, but there's no complex abstract way. One of the reasons for the difference between Bay of Pigs and the physical question was debated in advance of major decision. We may never be called upon to render the final decision on great issues of national policy, but we are constantly concerned with decisions important to ourselves for which debate can be applied in similar ways. It's the only portable skill means our framework turns to case number fully 2008 after several days of intense debate the House and Senate vote to authorize Bush attack and run on meanwhile perhaps equally difficult. A young couple deliberate over whether they should purchase a large home. Each of these situations call for decisions to be made. Life demands decision making. We make countless decisions. Every profession requires effective decision making. Should the president deal with a crisis through military invasion or diplomacy? What information should I rely upon? Certainly some of these are more controversial than others yet. Even the source of which information you attend requires decision making. We have access to infinite quantities of information. How do we sort through it? Critical thinking enables one to break argumentation down to evaluate relative validity. One's sense of failure is largely determined by ability to make wise decisions and to influence decisions of others. Effective deliberation is the linchpin of solving all existential global problems, lumber and head. Debate builds capacity for critical thinking, informed decision making, and judgment. The picture of political life in our rich people debates pessimistic, bureaucratic, administrative, politics, and public solutions to argue that these situations weren't giving up and debate the challenges of political life, afraid systems, capacity to change debate bills, skills, and allows them to change research, and be informed force of fostering problem solving, democratic deliberate capacity, unique combination argues for debates, a crucial component of which democratic life, and serve as an automatic practice for meaningful political engagement. When I expand, the practice is crucial as democracy to thrive. Democracy faces challenges to class, gender, racial, justice, environmental structure, climate change, threats to national stability, and change challenges to globalization more than any specific policy. An informed citizenry that deliberates with greater skill provides one of the best hopes of dealing with existential challenges. Now the case, academic debate over green politics is vital to engage the direction of energy policy and overcoming corporate control. The AF seeds the policy process to status quo interest. Torgerson, 2008, the administrative theory is no models of the complex of formal states, including the internal structure of dynamics of power of the administrative theory to pervasive to be overthrown. The problem posed by green policy, one of that nation which would require you to show which constraint precisely green system you need to be accepted nor rejected, emphasize personal responsibility versus moralism. That is part of the problem because it deflects attention from systematic patterns structured principally due to administrative theory that should shape behavior. Green politics do not rely upon entirely upon the cooperative green system constituted green democracy with level playing field rule of action directly curbing access to corporations or to state power to be brought to deliberative institutions where it be challenged by green society. Political project for green democracy would be public debates among political collectors. This is nowhere go. Public treatment with quality debate is probably what needs to be encouraged. The role of citizens conceived a political actor who acts with functional views but also engages in political form. The environmental challenge opens up potential green politics with debates that take place in public sphere. The impacts mass death. The app is a diversion of intellectual energy away from pragmatic solutions to environmental crisis. Chris, 2004, analyst married in the comfort zone of justice, agnosticism, and non-committal amount of discourses. Stands functioning against the devastation of viruses to opportune morphing international humanity science to join creative conscious shift and policy changes to stop destruction. How students are trained to regard scientific knowledge and messages percolate to the public from the academy about scientific findings matter immensely. The agnostic stands toward scientific claims but the environment is striving to interpret the world at an hour that's striving upon us to change epistemological focus on social nature at a time when the catastrophic impact of swelling may be changed to diversion of intellectual and political energies away from the main event. And a framework of personal homelessness means that we never take action to actually resolve accessibility issues that exclude people from our house. Minnow 96 personal testimony displaces analysis of social structures that produce it. A serious discussion of race must not begin with problems of black people, but with the thoughts of American society of adjudicating who is right and wrong occupies too much time preparing to say really if it's the alternatives and they're showing you unity, then the fight focuses on which identity must trump others in this debate feel focus on much the brutalities affecting the most vulnerable members of society and make debates about multicultural career, actual performers by children and others remains neglected, devastated urban neighbors, evaporating public sector sport, economic hardship occur before our eyes, and a method of homeliness can be co-opted by dominant forces. Privileged people can say that programs like affirmative action deny them a home, live to it. 97 storytelling can every action politically. If one narrative can make us more sympathetic to people of color, it stands to reason that narratives can make us less sensitive. We can easily imagine the emergence of narrative in which white authors describe being denied entry into professional schools when they have been accepted their background. The area is to think that storytelling is inherently liberating. Trading their narrative for the ballot naturalizes the political conditions that produce exclusion in the first place. Success in competitive debate on the basis of homeliness gets co-opted to justify liberal individualism. Coughlin, 95. Autobiography is lucrative commodity. Performance transforms itself into valuable intellectual asset. We must be example of the church and outside publication records sufficient evidence of success in their endeavor. Well, autobiography may be modest, influence, or individual. This has a limited impact on cultural transformation of insiders into success stories. First, and such radical intention by constituting them assembly participants within contemporary culture. What good does this do for outsiders who less than fortune storytellers to reflect on the meaning of their own success and entangling cultural values and religious those who produce an autobiography source seek not in order to promote the conquest or reflect cultural joy to liberal values to agree with oneself. Reflects a belief in autonomous individual autobiographical discourse co-opted instrument for the reforms envisioned by affirming the myth of individual autobiography reproduces the political, economic, social, and technical structure that and such that autobiography reflects attention from collective social responsibility and toward collective solution for the eradication of racist harms. Although the authors of individualism, autobiographical discourse will have a significant effect on self-esteem, reproduce autobiography disorder override, radical, authoritarian intention of relentless individual like the genre of someone in political critique, defining their own subjectivity, reproduces the character of whom culture self-created the pressures exerted by the market play a role. The autobiography desires benefit from her performance of that intelligible to her audience narrative, capitalize on autobiographical protests that serve the values of liberalism and starting politics with the body gets co-opted to celebrate white domination. It degenerates into solipsistic celebrations of the self. Shivani and two, there is no look at identity at a time when reactionary forces have gained an upper hand in fascism so catchily treating of liberalism being played on to be subject to review identity politics are beyond criticism. In the 60s, there was a need to oppress groups to realize that there is nothing inferior, but this assertion was given empty since it's not brought in by ideas doing the content beyond self-referential declaration of identities during young self-esteem. I am a woman, I am black. How often can these happen without signing of her pride itself is an end and it floats into abstraction until it sees it by fascist forces. If you can be proud enough to be black, why not be proud enough to be white or system of greatest empire in history? Sooner or later, this must happen to minority who request privileging the self-comfort of the home, dilutes dialogue, and the flip side of authoritarian violence. Democracy requires leaving your comfortable confines to do the difficult work of forging coalition standard and the value discussion increasing on attack we label the view idea of less prevention for the point that we can commit debate is our liberating personal conviction over deliberation self-comfort of personal liberty. I'll move to that for self-comfort.
You ready?
Yeah.
Alright, your minnow evidence, the one that talks about personal homeliness being bad, it says, and I quote, serious discussions of race must not begin with the problems of black people, but with the flaws of the American society. One, my first question is, do you have any evidence that speaks to black queer individuals?
Maybe not specifically. I don't know exactly if this evidence,
So,
who this evidence is talking
how is that accurate representation for Elijah and myself? Why would it be more effective for me?
Well, this evidence, you're right, is talking more broadly. And is
Right, and I think that's a problem.
I mean, we will apply it more specifically, I guess.
How? Apply it now.
Well, we would say that this argument makes the claim that when you talk about kind of your own social experience rather than in combination with a larger call on institutions, it creates a
so
problem.
not to black queer identity. Gotcha. Second question, why is it the flaws with American society not black queer problems?
What are you talking about?
Why wouldn't the flaws of American society not be black queer problems?
I don't think we've said that they're not black.
That's what your evidence says.
Which evidence?
It must not be with the problems of black people, but with the flaws of American society.
I mean, this evidence doesn't say that isn't a problem.
It's a
just
method, right? It's a
Thank
method
you.
argument. You
It's a
said
method.
you want to engage.
Right,
in
we understand. I think we understand now. How do you change structures without engaging the individuals constructing those structures?
We think the method we've posited for debate, i.e. engagement with institutions, is a way of kind of creating...
Yeah, and I have posed the question of how is that...
Yeah, we think that we need to have kind of the knowledge as well as the kind of advocacy skills and decision-making skills to engage those people.
Advocacy skills and decision-making skills. What
It's
are
a question of whether or not we start. It's a question of whether or not we start exclusively with identity.
What is the advocacy skills?
Not even answer
I mean, if you don't want to say answer, that's fine too.
No, I'm just saying, what are the skills?
I mean, in the context of our framework argument, it talks about decision-making skills.
What type of decisions?
So, for example, Arjun says that it's not about what kind of decisions you're making, but the process of defending your positions against well-prepared opponents, the in-depth deliberation.
Okay.
So the in-depth deliberation that
can-
comes from a limited topic of
Thank you.
discussion that has orientation.
When you say government policy, what do you mean by government?
I think the resolution posits the federal government as the
Right.
agency.
So where do we start to empower like community politicians like mayors and church leaders and things like that? How does this community reconcile those type of politics, that form of macro political action?
Our argument isn't that the only kind of political action that exists is the federal government. It's that the resolution is a starting point for those discussions, and that the agent of the resolution is one of the federal government
Okay.
discussing those.
Did I
important
get a
and
chance to
valuable-
vote on the resolution?
I'm sorry?
Did I get a chance to vote on the resolution?
The resolution is a process by where anyone can
Who has
submit
access to the
discussion.
deliberation process? We'll take prep time for this. Who in your model of debate already has access to deliberation?
Well, our model of debate isn't about who does or does not get access to that deliberation, but instead the kind of structures and the way that we debate in this space.
Cool. Sounds great.
Just if you feel free to hold.
It had always been, since I was a sophomore in high school, my dream to give one of these speeches, and I'm extremely grateful for the chance to give my second one in like a month. I would like to thank God, my mother for bringing me into this world and allowing me to see the age of 20. The tournament, hotel, university staff, which includes Weber State, Omar, Veronica, and the Weber State team. Also, I still thank Idaho State University. Seat was fun, party was fun, I enjoyed. I like to thank my family, specifically my cousin Candace. They're probably not watching, so that's cool. I like to thank my fraternity, Delta Sigma Iota, and a special shout out to my big, Stefan Singh. I would like to thank ESU, the team, for their amazing support. Lawgreet, who is Johnny on the spot. I promised him if I gave a second one, he would be Johnny on the spot to all the haters. Thank you, Sam, for taking a kid you didn't know and helping him get to Kansas. I would like to thank the Jersey Urban Debate League. Give them a special shout out. Kyla, my only homie that's out here with me today. I would like to thank Miriam Rosenbaum for convincing me to go to Yale for the tournament instead of going to practice for my other activities. I'd like to thank Abdul Barate for teaching me how to think and not just teaching me how to debate. Kurt Shelton and Aaron Timmons for making very special moves and strides in my life. I'd like to thank the Rutgers team, Kozak, Corey, DeMundo, and the entire coaching staff there for the early parts of this year that definitely helped me be the debater I am today. I thank Shanera again for everything that you and all the rest of my peoples out here have done. I appreciate y'all. I would like to thank Rashad for telling me that I was a bad debater every day. And I appreciate the investment. And I would like to finally thank Ryan. It has been a ride. No, I just read upon my card. Okay, how do we do?
They see that role about in this particular debate for you to endorse a scene that informally, methodologically brings debate home. They've made an argument about how you need to think about green political debate is key, and this particular basis, but this is pretty problematic because their targets and evidence does not indicate anything about the debate. It also does not question the uniqueness of the final round of the debate tour of the year. This means that all their accessibility, all accessibility claims should be filtered through a question of uniqueness. In the final round of the NDT, the last round of the year, what is required for our educational and dialogue movements? They make an argument how green policies are key. Their green policies key argument does not take into account the fact that multiple scholars and individuals who are working on the ground through the material bodies and performances are changing the ways in which those debates happen. I don't understand what part of the one they see does not include a question of the environmental discussion, why there's a right line in your discussion, one that we want. You say we divert energy away from solving the environment, which means that every single individual in this room is diverting energy. I'm sure that half of them are on Facebook right now. You also don't give a bright line to how much energy we need to produce. We've already had the discussion that you want to have. We discussed energy policy on 1AC. You should also gain questions threshold on uniqueness of this. You say that we will never solve for our house, but your Marian emphasis is problematic because you talk about identity politics. There's nothing about identity politics in the 1AC, which means there's absolutely no trade-off. Also, it says that we can't argue, we can never argue over curriculum, which is why this is the impact turn to all your dialogue arguments. We can never actually have a discussion. You say people can deny affirmative action because of the idea of hope, but we can't be responsible for things that white people do because they always do messed up things. It's not something that we will never be able to act. You also do not answer our weird evidence talks about the ideal of home or conflictual messy confines, which we need to understand, get beyond the binary between home and not home, where we understand that individuals need to have a place in which they can exist. You make arguments that we trade narratives for the battle, but we are about the method, not about the narrative. If I did one thing to that, I wish people would stop making this argument. This is not a good argument. We are not asking you to impact turn the narrative. We are asking you to evaluate the method in comparison. You say that also you trade your research for the battle, which absolutely means that you also gave a narrative and discussed yourself before your speech with me. There's absolutely no trade-off. You say trade-off institutional change, but you still give your narratives are things that stopped slavery before African Americans had access to institutions. They were able to tell their story through other individuals. Your argument about body politics celebrating itself is probably the same thing. Your framework argument celebrates the white male debate, educated and class-based norm that Shanera writes about, which is why you are distancing yourself from which bodies actually matter within this particular debate. It's not none of these reasons are reasons why our performance or our arguments within this particular debate is bad. Your arguments about policy do not answer what makes room in the space for a group, for us who have a method to discuss methods that can liberate the press, which is why you never allow for individuals to talk about local action. Only learning about United States federal action does not give individuals who cannot access the United States federal government any method. When the state fails, then what do? You also don't have reasons why we don't meet. We are a topic we discuss energy policy, and when I see this is sufficient to meet your resolution of vertical, so we can supplement but not supplant policy. But there's no reason why when you're asked, you cannot say what you want to say. There's no reason why we should be able to have start discussion the way that we think that it should be discussed. Also, topic window 2. Class-based arrogance, scriptocentrism points to the arrogant decision. Highly educated people who are so given their degree that fails to note that there are other forms of skill, intellectual creative activity. The theory of active policies can never perform to practical activity, which are always linked to highly not the observer, not the activity themselves. Scholarship is so skewed towards like even the research to attend it, linked with human action, the body of events, they construe them, just have to be read. This scriptocentrism is a hallmark of Western imperialism here. The only which reiners such an internal law which excludes itself with worse than the white. For many people throughout the world, particularly subaltern groups, sex are often themselves were threatened, charged with the regular part of the state most often than not supporting people experience sex and bureaucracy, literature, instruments, control of display, e.g. green card passport, arrest or deportation, or crypto, cause intactuation, every power of warrants, every power including the power of law, written to all the blasphemous subjects. Most oppressed people in the United States today are undocumented, so-called legal aliens, the very documented people send pop aliens when the other papers illegal because they're not legible with the trouble of the guard machine of law that generally attached needs to be installed to undermine transcription, not sufficiently politically into the modern conceptual engagement war. The root metaphor of the text, unfit supremacy, Western knowledge by erasing the bachelor of human knowledge and meaningful action, non-letter history of testing, which also habitual, which is why your grammar arguments are not accessible. You do not regard any type of access for anyone else, which is why your policy should not be effective. Even if you win that your education is good, it's not situated, it's not what allows individuals who do not want to debate in your form of debate to access it. You also do not defend a policy, which means that this is probably a good test on the threshold of the law. The links and policy discussions are key, and the findings in the NDT. You also, we also debated against Wake early in the debate, where they had an hour before the debate, and they had a very specific strategy. They lost only because the two are not messed up, not because they had a bad strategy, which means that you, with your 15 people in your house, you grant you major coaching staff scenes, means that you have something to say. You say policy discussions are key to dialogue, but this dialogue is only strategic disengagement with the act. We said that we need to centralize the narrative and discussions of the oppressed, how these individuals feel, why I can be called so, which is why individuals can call people niggas inside the debate, still win elimination rounds at the NDT, which because this is our distancing argument says that you do not have to worry about things that are on the ground, the way which you affect material bodies. Your arguments on limits of ground don't make any sense because Towson, OU, Louisville, West Georgia, all the debaters, the individuals who debate against us did not require any type of framework argument, which means that this is just straight up laziness. You did not actually use this starting off on bad faith. You didn't actually try to engage within the 1AC. You also see, your arguments about decision making don't make sense because Tim Wiley explained no father that personal principles do not matter between the basics. All the research happened, all the things that you learn are happening through the research phase and all the research that individuals do for you, which is why you don't learn anything debates, only high-speed mental masturbation between you and reading evidence back forces. We need to reset a discussion about what we do, particularly within debates. So sure, your argument about how you are the only portable skill is not true because we also allow individuals to have empathy for another. Liberté. Following the conversation on ethics, more freedom sectors are highest about we send ourselves in the way that we adopt others' projects, part of my own help to others' special freedom. We make choice of relationship to other, one that we force exchange and cooperation conditions heeds about building and values our freedom, situating responsible project, which we refer to as the venture and willing. I make the other distant team thoughts continue about perpetually surpassing Irish to other and give meaning to the other's distance, but how to unconditionally accept the other with all fragility and vulnerability for start to build a project live authentically acceptance of freedom and its authenticity, where we value our freedom with other, we retain solidarity with other relationships between Dorothy and her friends. matter express essential account of authenticity and generosity, each character concerned about the other flourishing personal quest become universal quest and universal reflects back on the aims and goals of each character. Dorothy's friend is desperately want her to join, but they had an even stronger desire to help Dorothy reach the wizard of Arjun. About switch side do not but taking into account the psychological violence that occurs in this black in the base space who those in the state, like individuals like my mother who died because of inaccessibility to say actions that you and then have to roleplay the individuals that you blame for the death of individuals in your film. This psychological violence and the death of minority subject in debate. Ross 2K. Looking at ideology, rational, determined opinions, to cover with ring reality with me to take sides and argue, not really to define by rational language. No argument can be such word aside and essential minds to the left and right are oblique. Represent the human body are also references collective body. People take stands, they take sides because they stand somewhere where they always stand and take a side in time. Identity formation, soon to after or manipulation, cover exposed about the supposed reasonable side that they choose to take. Politics is a struggle exactly because inequality this among individual constitutes group point of view is not true to an argument said it's a trick fast an argument and is help to shape the arguments form the direction and content of identity politics is by what point of view is available to occupied by those engaged show the power about the power will be. Actually, it doesn't matter not just how we're being said, but also who's saying who and direct toward those individual collective benefit and or deterring your argument about how you solve existential problems doesn't make any sense because Hester can't probably tell you you've been debating about global warming since 1971. There's a reason that's why people still run global warming as against the black people because you haven't actually done anything to solve that here with this particular mechanism. Even if our pedagogical engagement is good, we can use it to work on it against the pedagogical engagement of the status quo. Johnson 2K6. A lot of the performance side of agency for LGBT people will call the numerous proposed disidentification whereby the queer color within against dominant effect change, more dealing with dominant ideology rather than the simulate leadership they pose rather than against the stride to transform, cosmological with the liberty, not permanent structural change with values, forms, everyday struggles, resistance, this, plus also the which people will call have always been survived in the white society for the foundational, social, and political problem, the social mediated force, both the white bodies, names, survival, here, head, my district, not clue from no discourse, resistance, slave, black, truth, become helpless victims, and not the agency calls being discussed weapons based on identities, which is also why it's key for us to have the ability to perform ourselves as ourselves. Josh 2K6. Performance of self with some moments of complexity, transform into yourself in relation to the world. People have need to exercise control of production, their image, so they're feeling powerful, the disenfranchised extraction of cultural identity functions, same even social code, do performance identity, man, contested to dominant meaning system, LGBT talk back, whether using the tools of the master of vernacular industries, their voices are not simple reflectors of expression of culture, may be active agencies of particular change, which is why this is the finals of the NDT. They got up here and started on bad faith. Whether they go for this framework or not, this is where you take your stand. It is wrong to tell, particularly the award ceremony is probably damning on this question. When the black students got up, the black students clapped. When the white students got up, the white students clapped. There's a reason why none of you have spoken to me since I've been here. There's a reason why the black students do. There should no longer be this divide within the debate community that tells some people how their educational model, there's no space for you here. There's the idea that you need a home place. That is what we're talking about. You may not agree. You may think you need to impact turn our arguments and our arguments about ourselves. That is not a reason that's why you're correct, and that is not a reason that's why home place in debate is key. Some people don't have any place else to go.
What method does the 1AC advocate?
Our method is one of activism that uses the praxis informed by the Wiz to indicate how our struggle for home place should occur.
Okay, so how does that create a shift in pedagogy, I believe is the word you use in the 2AC, so what does that do about pedagogical practices in debate, or?
I think a pedagogical practice in debate would not be one where you get to tell me which bodies belong here and which ones don't.
Okay, so.
I think the Wiz would also say that. Everybody needs to get going down the road together.
Would a apt characterization of the 1AC be making debate more inclusive?
That is part of it, that is not.
Okay, can you explain what else would be included in the
It's not just a question of inclusiveness, it's a question of the form and content of our arguments, it's also a question of how we speak about the topic.
Okay, so in a world where the apt wins this debate, what is the vision of debate afterwards?
Debate where we can get up and read our 1AC, Rashid and George can get up and they can pop a Molly and sweat for you, and you can get up with Georgetown and anybody else you want to, and you can talk about how you want to talk about, but the discussion allows everybody to sit at the table, not in the kitchen.
Okay, so in the debates where it's not just us and Georgetown and you and OU, when we both are debating, maybe like this debate, what would those debates do?
You could have run a counter methodology, you could have given a counter roll of the ballot.
But you said, another argument you make in the 2AC is that we have to perform ourselves, and there's no distancing allowed. So
I said we should not. Distancing is a disadvantage to your framework. I didn't tell you you had to do anything
Don't get up here and tell me that I don't know about your closets, I don't know about your immigration status, I don't know about any black gay males' identity in the closet. All the evidence that you're about to read on that question does not apply.
So do you believe that a more productive form of debate is where judges have to evaluate different forms of personal experience?
It's not the, okay, I'm gonna make this clear as well. I don't want you to just evaluate the personal experience. I don't want you to impact turn it. We don't get a 4, you don't get a 5. We compare the methods.
Okay, and how do you justify your method? For some personal experience, correct?
We think that informs the method, but that's not a justification just for the method.
Okay.
We have pointed out structural issues in the status quo. You talk about inherency, so have we.
Okay, and your method for changing that is what?
The 1 in the 1AC is one that allows for an activist model within the debate space that our practices informed by the Wiz, right? It is a reading of the Wiz to inform our struggles and how debate should operate.
Okay.
Our method is
You
one
make
that
an
brings that
argument-
here.
Sorry, you make an argument about not learning things in the debates themselves, but rather research being the crucial element.
Right.
Is that correct in the
If there's how many teams at the NDT and you need to prep for each one of their affirmatives, that means that you prep for how many hours of cutting cards on environmental energy, and the last
So you
debate
think
of
that
the year.
research can teach us everything?
I think it can teach us a lot, and I think that what we do can probably teach you more.
Okay. And you make an argument about psychological violence. How would the affirmative characterize that or quantify
Some
that?
people, I think that some people, y'all know who y'all are, y'all can raise your hands. Some people are oppressed by the government. Pretending to be your oppressor is probably violent. Take a look.
It's the choices of me versus the ads. I don't know if that's something he does or if that's something that's standard.
While Harris is jumping, I'll say my thank yous. I also want to start by thanking the tournament, Weber State, Omar and Veronica for hosting, the tab room, Fritch, the NDT staff, everyone that made this weekend possible, the staff that works at the hotel, the cleaning staff that came in and caused us to all have to leave our rooms every debate, but it was awesome because the tournament was incredible, and I couldn't be more appreciative. Our opponents, Emporia, who's had a phenomenal year and has pushed us to think about what we do and why we do it, and the way that we go about doing that, I think is profound and impressive. I also, in particular, want to say thanks to Georgetown. We had a great semifinal round with them, and they've been a competitor all year, and it's kind of my last chance to tell them how much respect I have for them in front of everyone. So I've debated for 10 years, and this is going to be my goodbye, so it might take me a little bit. Wow, I thought I'd at least get through the first part of this. I have both dreaded and hoped for this a lot. Hoped kind of, obviously, but dreaded for this exact reason, because if you know me at all, there's no chance I was making it through and not crying. Debate has been my family and my friends. It's been my hardest work and my most rewarding play. And it's taught me more than I could have ever dreamed. For that, I am indebted to all of you, every part of this community, and in particular, a number of special people in my life. First and foremost, I want to thank my family. My mom and my brother are here today. They supported me and kept me centered. I really should be able to do this a little bit better. Sorry. If you've ever judged me before, you've seen this happen a million times. It's okay. So my family's from Atlanta and flew all the way out here. My brother's in Vermont, and they came to support me. They've filled in the gaps of the crazy life that debate causes you to live. They've kept me sane and centered on things that really matter. Alston and Robert aren't here. They're immensely important to me. For my debate past, I'm forever grateful. Isaac Wolf, you first introduced me to this incredible activity. You guided me and sent me along this incredible path. Miss J, Greenstein, Scotty P, Jordana, you were all part of my high school years of play and have all played incredibly powerful roles in my experience in debate. In particular, Miss J, you put up with a lot of shenanigans for 4 years and let Jen and I become the debaters that we wanted to be. Jen, you're my best friend and my partner for my most formative years of debate, and I couldn't ever fully express how much I have learned from you and how much you've meant to me. For my Northwestern family, I am blessed. Mary, you brought me into this world of college debate, and I am so thankful for the guidance and the understanding. Every teammate along the way has meant the world, and the fact that you all keep coming back is a profound testament to the strength of the NU bond. Matt, Steph, Ryan, Greg Friend, who couldn't be here, Warden, you all have taught me so much about what it means to win, but more importantly about what it means to be a wildcat and to play the game right, win or lose. To Bloomy and Luke, you were both wonderful parts of my time at NU and seem to be so happy in everything that you're doing, and I wish you all the best of luck. Lundy, even from far away, you've contributed so much to our team. Lane, I want to say a special thank you. You might have been younger, but I learned a lot about leadership and commitment and hard work from you along the way. To the team that we've brought here, Evan, Miles, Linda, and Raheem, your hard work for this tournament and throughout the year has been inspiring. Phil, Jesse, Rebel, Rachel, Connor, MJ, Nate, Mara, you all have killed it and been so dedicated to the win as a team, lose as a team ideal that we all aspire to. Chris, my fellow senior, it's been a crazy 4 years, and you bleed purple like nobody I have ever met. To our incredible support staff, Buckets, Boldman, Amanda, who's not here, LT, who loves us from afar, you all have all played such big roles in our success, and I could not be more appreciative of that. To my coaches, there's been a moment with each of you that has kept me going, and I don't even know if you remember, but they've all probably changed my life forever. I'm going to keep crying, sorry. Hardy, you believed in me maybe before anyone else did, and for that I can never say thank you enough. Bunton, you've been my guidepost and compass at Northwestern. You've had some kind of vision, some way forward for me the whole way through, and with quiet support and compassion, you've helped me achieve so much more than I thought I
could ever have dreamed of. Fitz, I'm definitely going to cry because this is Fitz and I, this is how we relate to each other. I can't really put into words how much you've changed my life. It's only appropriate to go out crying because that's how you first convinced me to show up at Northwestern. Your sadly true. Your brutal honesty and profound insight into the essence of the people around you is incredible, and you've been the most amazing coach in a million ways, and I couldn't and wouldn't want to do any of it without you. Finally, I will cry the most for this one, but to my partner, Arjun, you're my rock and my anchor and my inspiration and my friend, and you've amazed me every step of the way. With each bigger and more insane thing that we've asked of you, you have stepped up quietly, assuredly, and blown me away. You're not just profoundly talented as an amazing debater and person and friend. Your compassion is limitless, and your kindness to me has been unparalleled. I do not think I could ever be so blessed to finish my debate career with someone like you. Despite how long this has been, I'm sure I still have not done justice to all of the people that have changed my experience in the community. I'll stop listing names. I could go on forever with a story about so many of you, competitors or coaches or judges that have been incredible forces in my life, whether or not you even realize, but I'll stop here and say thank you, and I am humbled and honored to be before you today and have this opportunity to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm gonna take like 30 seconds to get it together, and then I'll give my 2&C, sorry. Less than I thought I would cry. Okay, so we're gonna get, there's an overview of the topic.
This is a debate about debate. We think debate can be a powerful force for social, institutional, and cultural change. The question boils down to what a method are interpretations, information, defend resolutional action. There are 3 net methods are method personal to deliberation, limited topic of questions vital internally to effective deliberation. Debating against a well-prepared opponent is productive, forces critical thinking skills, and develops the ability to advocate for your proposals of whatever kind. That's a cyber freely evidence. Deliberation has external impacts outside this round. We are not an isolated community. We will go on to engage in other activities, be they policymaking or social actions, and being capable of making informed, effective decisions, good because demand and train us to address the most pressing challenges of our time: climate change, commerce, poverty, social inequality, etc. That is the lumber gap that independently implicates our personal experience outside of the ground as a situation. That's a cyber freely evidence. Deliberation also link terms a lot of their offensive starting point of favor productive discussions, giving both teams a seat at the table. Fairness is an impact in and of itself, including negative engagement, makes it any meaningful dialogue and possible lack of limits in their model, and the proven inevitability of undisclosed new affirmatives means the neg walks them with no way to engage in discussion. Turns their inclusion argument. Fairness is key to effective dialogue. Monopolizing strategy makes discussion one-sided and subverts inclusion. The negative turns their inclusion arguments got way instead of being established step by step to conference when competitive equity stuff is denies in personhood of the application of the topic of fiction topic is offered being across the links to for respect of preparation, not be silent, safety, possible disruption, fairness to so tries to one-sided conference unable to participate, purpose maintains equity for the sake of conversation case such as the state against the action if it came to be raised at the top of the conference first and meaningful without being conducted by the government the value of exchange determining that you come to dialogue better. Second is government modeling. Edit Esberg and saying yes, the government has flawed components to challenge our understanding. The government is important and valuable through discussion of federal policies. Learning the language of that expert allows us to confront and challenge those institutions outside of this ground. Resolves a lot of the impacts at the root of their explanation for racism and structural violence. Successful hop if that policy makers be able to mobilize actually available numbers additional representatives to how policy references really all this mantra size numbers of policy P should be able to mediate differences so the issue of maybe besides the public social sciences uses multiple methods to communicate policy relevant knowledge authorities leaking away insurance groups and experts market public that opinions talking about the sentence possible judges and quality needed parties there the citizen group showing intellectual open field in such conditions high debate for minimal allowed scientific validation to the alright some sort of conference that ideological universe and destroy policy now should be able somehow to speak the truth of political beliefs or ideological opportunity to have a broader ideological oriented citizenry. Third is switching sides, practicing the ability to defend your opponent's viewpoint and forces you to challenge your own ideological convictions. Valuable process and helps create empathy and reforms our own ideological conviction. That's Keller Evans' word is energy policy, technical policy debate about energy production is a productive and particularly valuable action in the context of this year's topic that will be on case bound and line by line. No, we have basically we don't have a role about. Obviously, natural argument is you should have to defend the federal government action. This is a question what mode of debate you should endorse. They say uniqueness is debate. This is a debate about debate favor because even bigger because of the referendum on practices that we want to instill the practice. It is not just one debate, it sets a model for changes towards the activity discussions on that. They say it's a white male-dominated activity. I will do answer some of their offense here. First is that endorsing federal government action on entry consistent with personal experience, tying it together isn't productive action does not mean that you should have to defend it with a hedge good advantage, but simply that connection is necessary to start the deliberation in the context of the negative. Second is engaging in personal criticism of the federal government as embraces action on the negative is valuable time to endorse your personal position while still giving the other two fair starting point. Much of their offense is not falsifiable assertions about the power of voting affirmative. This clearly at the expense of a certain set of practice. This isn't an effort to prevent a home. This is an effort to create a home where everyone can come to the table again and engage in discussion. Voting against him is not an effort to exclude them from the community. It's only a reason that they have not won this one round. Intrinsically tied the idea of inclusion with the idea of what he used to structure the moral hazard guarantee that every decision excludes another team and only ensures inclusion for Emporia, not a broader claim for solving all inclusion. Obviously not falsifiable. There's no mechanism for school over this. Let's perform its sellability by endorsing broader change. How voting affirmative to be the unique means of access to this. Our model of debate is also not mutually exclusive. Making debate accessible to minorities. I spent my last summer working with four inner city Chicago debaters, a black male and female, and Latino male and female. They chose to focus on the kind of debate that was empowering for them by developing skills for research, advocacy, and delivery in the context of federal government policy making. Let's work on outreach and retention. Those are not mutually exclusive with the idea of defending the federal government action. Their model turns accessibility, adjudicating personal experiences equally likely to result in discomfort and to partial community. Many of their arguments are problems about the debate, the way the debate space operates. I think that the demonization and their refusal to engage in discussions in the cross-sexes, etc., all prove that those practices are only more likely in the context of their argument. It's not white. It is not a stylistically exclusive argument. There's no explanation for why there is only white males can defend federal government action. Now, they say no local action argument isn't that the only thing that can be is acting endorsed against the federal government. It says that starting point the resolution is uniquely important. They obviously don't mean our interpretation of the resolution. We are dealing with to design energy protection means they're not predictable and concrete evidence. We do not think that there aren't other activities that have value, but instead that the unique space of debate and defending a limited topic of discussion is the only way to have an engaged discussion, but discussion because there's limitation and is predictable for both sides of the department to defend. We do defend the federal government of the affirmative, but we are negative in this case, which proves our switching side arguments, which means it does not apply. They say we should have had enough time to prepare. They disclose this as a new affirmative, which I'm not really sure why, but if they are serious about inclusion and discussion, then they should have been sincere about that component. We obviously are attempting to engage the method debate that they are arguing for. The debate racist argument does not make a lot of sense. A dialogue is a strategic to say disagreement about the method. We are attempting to include them in the idea that the black debaters stood up for other black debaters is also not true. I stood up for you, Emporia. I stood up for other components of that. This should be about the community building, but that is not about the content of this debate. Laziness and bad faith arguments don't make a lot of sense. We're engaging the method of question. Research is not so any of our arguments because they're all about the process of the debate itself. The Sunberg evidence we do engage with the others. So evidence is it's also not the context of debate. It's impossible to be universally accepting a debate because you have to make a decision as a judge against one side or the other, which means all of their impacts are inevitable, especially true in the context of psychological violence. They focus on inner psychic violence, fails to create normative political perception for the world democratic proceduralism is essential to create the subject relations and 6 level individual sector fields around the norms, the ultimate as far as the and ultimate politics remain focused on identity, not only as a self level of the normative there is in the subset of psychic maneuvers translated into political realities, which is highly questionable, but there is not in terms of sections that is such in terms of the social transition, see something that idea has to be solved inclusion and other structures well over the sun. Second, I think we're looking at something in terms of perspective of the norms by certain it's more than comprehensive to have the house in terms of associating nurture yet or a textual connection. This room becomes very normative clarity about some kind of a cedar argument. Skills are key to accomplish last and no through towards racial equality, focusing solely on alleviating social psychic violence, leads institutional causes of repression on denial, and then as everything's going to racial works that happens, justice, building, that's how I respect that. And here's the sort of things, that's something kind of regular racial limit, the aliens are hard to and how starting to have the infractions with them, and there is much to be done in the house of minors, nothing to be helps about some hoppers, white Americans, white men, so make efforts like that, make efforts like that. They say we aren't able to solve warming. Yes, people do go on to make a difference outside of this big thing that people like Fisher, staff, Ward, and all work in think tanks and stats go then chapter reform the way that policy making is done by making informed decision research and instead of applying their skills outside of this realm. Warming is happening in stats because there is not a sufficient support of scientific evidence and a particular policy proposal to reform it. That work will be on the debate on the case like there. They say Johnson evidence. Their evidence is not about the debate space every day, and the everyday struggles is not an explanation for why the affirmative is able to reform that. It also means that performing itself is in the context of debate uniquely worse because you have to be adjudicated against, which means that the only kind of psychic violence that's possible is one in which you tie your personal location to the debate narrative focus. That's how debate is equally coercive as framework. It constrains discourse by either forcing sympathetic response or painting the negative into the corner of attacking them personally in conflict. And that's why the institutional states outside of how the system is vigorous and proper the dialogic and except for the greater group of substance and answer sex and sin for hoping personal service reenter and substance other attempted this heavily turns out to be significant short of the context committed to and this person does that. Audit beliefs not Trump is supposed to note any type of ask you to review process for reason. And then arguments of hope is portion of the devil, the fear, stress, and performance. I think we should focus on a process of which things get added and arguments of people have justified their position, kind of like if they hope to live together, propose a set of television ensures that the other side that happens each of the orders every single bit involved like taking distance one degree and then it's supposed to be energy that one comes to stretch and share anything you never kind of opposite again. How they wide variety of instruction, but I insist how other dimensions in terms of the argument of the recent analysis there champions vouch that they must refuse another order to limit the multi being the effect of performance is that irritable perception and public service because they perhaps understand that can be appropriate use to justify political position legislative agendas.
You made an argument that said that appeals to empathy are bad.
I don't think so.
Well, what is your argument about empathy?
My argument about empathy is it's only possible in a world where we get outside of our own only personal...
No, you made an argument more about narratives and empathy.
My argument about narrative is that the way that it's deployed in the debate space, if you adjudicate between... Well, we make a couple of arguments about narratives. I guess I want to clarify which one, so I'm not just like crossing over whatever you think I... What?
Can we get to it?
What's
the argument, please?
Sorry, well, I just think we made a few about narrative, but I think that narrative as the exclusive explanation for a justification is not productive if it's not tied to policy analysis, or not that it's not productive, but it's dangerous in the context of the debate space, both because it gets adjudicated by a judge and requires a response from an opposing team.
Why does the narrative require you to respond in a negative way to say someone is lying or to like try to impact her?
I don't think we're attempting, I don't think it requires impact turning or whatever. I think that that sort of proves our argument, right? It is true that the debate space has been a home for me, for you, for all of us.
So I think that, sure. I read my poem Press Play, and then Rashid goes and he does his rap about his father. Now, I don't ever tell him he's wrong, or I don't tell him his experience doesn't exist, and I don't criticize him for sharing that experience, and he didn't criticize me for it. So why does that debate break down every time?
Well, I guess I haven't been in as many of those debates, but I find it very difficult to negate the idea that debate as a space has become a home for a lot of us.
If you haven't been in many of those debates, how can you tell me that they're not educational or that
I've
made dialogue?
I've made some structural claims about why I think that method is dangerous and difficult for both sides. And you can obviously make arguments about why you think it is possible to engage, but I think framework is a method. You're welcome. I am trying to be respectful about this.
I think we are too. Especially about this Powell evidence. It talks about how effective is critical race theory as an advocacy. Why are we critical race theory?
I don't think that you are in the same way that that evidence describes, but it's talking about strategies for engagement and
how
why certain strategies are effective. Obviously, our evidence is about a method question, right?
Yeah, we're not about that method for core bodies. How does it assume those?
Okay, that evidence is making a claim about the way in which we should engage politics and the way that we have discourse and dialogue in the context of debate. Right, so you're right that our evidence does not say queer bodies, but we think in the context of the app, we should have a discussion that ties that to policy. Well, I'm sorry?
We are queer bodies.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that I cannot personally negate or refute that experience, which is...
I'm just trying to say, if you can't refute that experience, how can you say that it's so freaking possible for me to connect my struggle to an advocacy by the United States federal government?
I think that that's the most constructive way that we can have a dialogue in the debate ground.
Why didn't you try to have a dialogue with us?
We think we have. We've attempted to engage in the method question, right? We think that debate as a home and a space is most effectively...
So you have engaged, but you didn't effectively engage because we didn't talk about policy?
Well, we think that there is a more productive way to structure debate practices. Yeah.
It's the case, and then the bottom of framework.
I'm just going to have him kind of like... Has he already jumped it to you? Or
yeah, no,
that's but there is another. I just meant like I don't know if he still needed it to so go.
and then the bottom of framework.
Academic engagement with institutions in the context of green politics is crucial to overcome corporate control, shape the direction of change. The affirmative forfeits their civic capacity of citizens by to satisfy just by, quote, emphasizing the personal responsibility of the individual and risking a moralism that is part of the problem because it deflects attention from systematic patterns of incentive structure, principally through administrators here, that serve to shape and direct behavior. That's the Torgerson evidence from the 1MC. Their impact, and the impact of that was conceded. Mass death from warming will be inevitable absent of public consciousness shift, which we believe they've subverted with their method. This is method turn to their argument. This outweighs psychic violence because life is a prerequisite to that value, and it is much harder to quantify psychic violence in the context of life as a prerequisite. Current problems lie with the lack of scientific understanding and communication skills, which debate can allow us to change through inculcating a productive method of advocacy as well as decision making in the context of green politics. They say a couple of arguments. First, the green space is bad, but that assumes a model without a level playing field, without a leveling of the playing field through political engagement, which are Torgerson evidence directly responds to the final round argument. Only supercharges our link. It proves that this is a key time to affirm our commitment to becoming green citizens and supporting a move away from catastrophic emissions. We can affirm debate as a means of something larger than just us and as individuals, which is something that I think the 1AC cannot do. The 1AC may have included a version of environmental discussion, but it definitely does not engage with the types of institution and scientific method that our Torgerson evidence says is important to actually creating a public shift. Their Facebook argument is a nice line, but only proves uniqueness for us. We have to facilitate a consciousness shift by creating an informed citizenry, because there is currently an issue of uninformed political engagement. Now, the decision-making skills and engagement with the state energy apparatus prevents energy technocracy, actualizes radical politics, and solves emissions. Hager 92. Listen, give me substance policy discussion. Actions turn to public energy as more energy log and issues left for which private Americans finding a policy arm. System moving around the play back to the lower district policy based on retain outside protecting groups focused on conventional or political decision-making as they brought in their community to include system and hopefully restructuring. Only we should obviously direct participation by reducing and plan itself. The initiative force bureaucratic projects to push authorities in, motivate policy making, change policy, falls underlying the objections against your objects on its reaction and system decision began with a private streets and riders system creating a groups overcame the defense questions to formulate on alternative problems based on decision making. The members operated local system fundamentally changed to restore the link between bureaucratic industry that cards markets industry and extend the method turn in terms of using identity as a basis for winning a debate via an autobiographical method. Structurally cannot change conditions that produce exclusion. Our Coughlin evidence is pretty fantastic. Says that their success only gets used to say that the system as it is currently works fine, i.e. the pull us up by the bootstraps logic. Using your identity as a basis for competitive success can get co-opted to show how even the oppressed can still make it to the top in trenches. Liberal individualism. This is proven by the fact that their only solvency argument really relies on their comfort in debate and their exclusion. This has no tangible effect on people who are literally excluded from debate because of economic or other reasons. Their success ensures that those people are permanently locked out. We don't trade our narrative with our thank you speeches, which I think is the only responsive argument in the 2AC. Those aren't meant to resolve exclusion or necessarily for competitive success. They're pretty genuine, if you can tell by pain trying their identification of personal experience with the exclusionary nature of debate. Community disavows their investment in that very exclusion. The only way they can say they found a home is if the negative denies them one. They just shift the evaluative criteria to exclude any viewpoint that doesn't result in winning. Coughlin 95C focused on practicing the academy, the political place of role of Williamson for herself and considering her product ratings, equal gains completely, she never noticed it. The reason equivalent to become scores for academy reinforce the academy culture. She desires to revise her identification to industrial autonomy, autonomy, her reading structure, the academy structure, the alchemy offers a critique to evaluate standards. However, the text reference to Williams credentials, those references, love to critique by revealing the extent of standards have created Williams today, the technical and professional, self-exclusion, the availability to transform from the school to test right desirability, evaluation by catalog, psychological satisfaction, bestowed by necessary benefits include upper mobility, again, with certain that she feels invisible, but she's invisible, authoritarian, has to academy text simplicity and upholding standards reside in these other comfort the existence of her personal stake and continuing existence of standards. Mark that standards. Framework. Only we access offense arguments like framework don't injure people, but policies do. Anderson 6 and 2 personalized attack profit feels ostracized argument is seen as harming person. Argument is not injurious to person. Or policies or arguments is not harmful. One instance, one is very close to censorship. The most productive thing is to produce response that states your disagreement, but to assert the book harms you. Is saying you do not believe in argument or free change of ideas and your claims somehow damns your opponent's ideas. Identity is relevant, but should not be used to trump argument. Apathy, plaguing democratic institutions, is a serious problem. Assertions of unassailable differences glorified as politics democracy is not happening. Then rather deficiencies of existing democracy are making themselves felt. Acknowledging exclusion is vital to democracy, but insisting exclusion is inherent, seems dull. Saying that a state of exception defines modernity as if absolutized gives you nothing but a negative diagnostic and flight from conditions rather than confront them. If one is outraged by disregard of democratic procedures, one needs to say why procedures matter and why what institutions secure them. Argument as a key component of democratic institutions in public debate is a vital role to play. The tax and framework isn't itself forceful oppression. It's simply an advocacy on behalf of different uncertain decision-making practices. It's no different than any other argument in debate. Anderson and Six, how could promoting debate in common ground that should prevail over assertion of cultural authenticity come to be dangerous? Argument standard probably based on whether they are persuasive. It's not the case that argument in favor of reason debate is tantamount to oppressive power. Robinson will say what you argue for would be if you force. I simply argue in favor of an argument within a proceduralist framework. The importance of proceduralism I invoke in discourse protocol abdication invasion of Iraq. It's hard to see how proceduralism can be associated with Bush. My goal is a democratic culture of argument. Argument is not based on becoming an identity of appeals to identity and combining. Do you want this card? Okay. Yeah, I'll read this card. Combining narrative and political action is critical. Narrative alone presumes purity of vision and renders the oppositional viewpoint irrelevant. Conway, 97, any epistemic privilege implies a political preference. All presented or partial subjugated standpoints do not afford privilege to Haraway warns against the danger of promoting vision of less powerful to see below is neither nor on planet. Even we have not having subjugated structures of standpoints are not innocent. Subjugated standpoint makes some new light, but it in no way renders superfluous.
Where are we at?
Marked as superfluous.
Everybody have our time?
8:25.
Sorry. Okay, thanks. Arjun, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You said the last part was
Conway.
It's in the two.
Yeah, I'm about to ask you about that. When you say combination, do you mean like at the same time or narratively justify the policy?
I'm not sure what you mean by the in terms
How
of
do
the
we
difference.
include, you said narrative and policy good? What, how
Yeah, I
does
think
that
that inclusion for the purpose of policy construction is good.
for policy construction? Okay, that's all I
Yeah,
wanted
so
to
the
know.
combination, yeah, the combination of those two.
role of validness for you to enjoy the team that best formally methodologically brings debate home. They not doing your role as judge. We think you should be invested in adjudicator that is interested in the way that this debate activity operates. There is a division in debate now. This is just another conceded communities question. I think that core is the bridge between those communities. They have given you multiple examples of individuals that work and think tanks that work is beyond that. But the adult individuals that they're talking like Matt Fisher are white males, which is why our concrete evidence says that their requirement that we have a plain text script of centuries that is bad. They have no answer to that is a middle class white value does not take into account the formativity that our Johnson evidence talks about in the moment of self-reflexivity. It also means that they do not allow individuals that are not. That means that they create a border for individuals that are papered and not papered. That is how we talk about individuals who are simple appellees in the 1A, 2AC. They have absolutely no answer to this. Said that this is something that reproduces debate. That's something that's middle class and white. They said their arguments about community activism are our arguments about community activism are key. Our conceded the United States federal government fails. What do you do? Which is why we need strategies outside just the United States federal government, like our Johnson evidence disidentification with the system of debate. Our good tools we can work on against the system of oppression. This is something that we can choose when to talk about policy. We're not talking about policy in order to shape new tomorrow. They have no answer to the Johnson evidence. This you can vote here. Also, the arguments about how we can combine narratives and policy turns all their impacts because their argument about white narratives are bad also affect the policy. This is also a reason that's why they can just strategically disengage from the narrative or your personal experience within the 1AC because they can just pick out of it. Also means that they never get to talk about centralized press, the argument about the price. So they've also conceded our supplement non-supplant argument, which is you can evaluate this debate like a permutation. They've conceded that with a couple of net benefits, you can still allow us to have these types of conversations, but not tell other individuals they are not. Because I think Masterson and Leonardo are right. We should have different strategies for different people. There's absolutely no reason why we cannot have these types of discussions, why they're not important. Even if they concede, even if everything they said is education, that's not a reason. That's why we cannot supplement that education. They say all people can't have value in life, but that's not the reason. That's why queer people can. Life is not. Everybody does not have value in life. Representing the queer individuals in the debate stage, you've not made an argument as to why psychological violence is not something that is real. Even when we talk to you about the effects of what's happening in the debate community, you get to ignore us. Why do you get to make goalpost arguments when we don't? We have one, a good affirmative, and two, you need to continually question the debate community. Your argument about the goalpost is just a reason why your interpretation is arbitrary. You can always change from words and friends to Black's Law Dictionary. When you give your interpretation of what debate should look like, your arguments about how we should look about energy policy, you can see the community question that says this is the last debate in the year, which means that if this space is not key because half the people in this room are on Facebook, and this means that individuals never have room to sleep. I've also do things outside debate. I work for the New Jersey Department of Housing, and I work with the Energy Department, which means that debate is not a key space. You can also see that a lot of this education happens in the research phase. You should also see our impacts that way because accessibility is multi-platform impacts. You said that we need more individuals to focus on just your types of policy, but you don't actually defend the policy for me. It's not key for us to discussion. You also do not have a bright line on what that policy discussion has to look like. We discuss the failures of energy policy within the one state. Your argument about how identity politics doesn't make changes, not a response. You both can see that we are not an identity politics. We didn't make any of those arguments in the 1AC. Also, in the identity politics is necessary for some people to survive, which is why those should be key parts of the discussion. You said that we shift the goalposts to home to win, but that's your framework argument. Also, we did not shift the goalposts. We still defend the weird evidence that you did not have an answer to that says that home is a conflictual, messy place where we have to have the ability in order to come to the conflicts or allow you talk about how you get friends, how you've enjoyed the debate community. Why is it only about your enjoyment? I did that individuals who may be black, individuals who may be black and queer do not get to those same types of enjoyment. We need something that can bridge the gap. Your deliberation arguments, you can see all of our arguments from above that say that you do not have a positive form of deliberation because they always exclude some individuals. Even if your deliberation is good, this means that you do not, everybody cannot access this. Also, you can see that multiple pedagogical models are good. Your arguments about how fairness is ground and important is not sure. Concrete evidence is the ground that you want is based on sheer those tensions and your arguments. You have not answered. You say new app, but that's not what we have done. You won your last debate on the new app. This is a bad argument. You say monolithic discussion, but this is not what happened here. We have a lot of productive discussion. You have to see the comparison between the ways in which we debate Georgia and Rashid. You also can see across the nation that you have no idea what those debates look like because you've never actually been inside of one. Government modeling is not always key because you don't do anything to take into account the queer perspective and how that might actually affect people who do not want to replace the government. It's not just heuristic when you get up here and you have to defend the state and say the state is good and the state will say you are literally lying to yourself and lying to the other people in the community. Policy is not neutral because of the way in which it affects other individual community debate. This might be a debate about debate, but you can see that when we actually talk about the methods, it's not just about the way in which you say that we're not falsifiable, but how is that you are falsifiable. Talking about think tanks and having this discussion now will change. You've been saying this since GSU. We will change. We will stop global warming. I don't see the change now. You make an argument how we are just inclusion not winning. Our argument is that you need to take a stand here about including debate, about utilizing multiple pedagogical models. Your argument about how the Chicago students wanted policy is not a reason. That's why we should not have multiple strategies for multiple people and not make space for those individuals within the particular debate community. Your instance of concrete evidence is not making any sense because you just say that you think debate is good. the concrete evidence specifically tells you as to why we need the political compromise basis in order to have multiple conversations. You said this is about community building, but which members of the community get to be a part of your community, and which individual are allowed within the conversation? Your arguments about how we are having one sided conversation doesn't make sense, because you can see that you are the one sided conversation. Schneider has literally been writing about this for years. I think the resistance group is also probably telling you the idea that some individuals can talk about. You also see the Lindenberg evidence says that the only way to have authentic encounter with other individuals is the idea in order to gain traction with other individuals, we need to authentically join their political project. How Frederick does not hurt, does not take into account the things we said. If we read a policy and attach a narrative, why would you have to listen to it then? If you don't have to listen to anything we said now, you said narratives don't lead to political action, but why is it that I don't have a job? Why is it that black poor people don't do anything outside the debate, but other than talk about narratives and talk and rap? Why is it that we can't be part of the policy discussion, but talk about policy from the perspective of the press? When the United States federal government fails, you're not there. We need alternative methods that can actually save us and from
Okay, never good.
This is a debate about debate. Your ballot will endorse a model or activity that best prepares its students for coping with larger challenges of society, technocracy, and environmental crisis, distribution of wealth, and climate change, environmental justice, electricity prices, and energy supplies. One model supposedly set aside the fundamental role that institutions connect us to each and every one of these issues, focusing exclusively on the politics of personal. In contrast, our model proposes it's impossible to understand what the politics of the personal outside of and engagement with institutions has such a powerful impact on all of our lives. Use your ballot to from the public policy debate is a relevant and powerful force to be a change for the politics of personal and institutional. This is not only a debate about our any individual participating in this particular round. It's not only about the individual lens through which we understand that profound political issues that this year's resolution is laid out for us. Debate is bigger than any one perspective or method. Use your ballot to affirm the relevance of the practices engaged in here for the most essential public policy questions today are offense versus deliberation. It's based on limits. There is literally zero limitation placed on the affirmative team out of there. And interpretation of role ballot, that means Meg comes in unable to discuss the best methodology to resolve things like core body inclusion, unable to determine whether or not theirs is the best method because we can never challenge the affirmative. They're never prepared. There are few impacts versus deliberation against well-prepared opponents makes us better decision makers. In the context of the Lundberg evidence, they've conceded scenarios for extinction, which means that if you think there's even 1% risk of spillover outside of this round, it's probably the reason why you should endorse our model, even if they win some of their impacts. Any chance that debate is able to actualize that change is great to prefer the sake of the Asperg evidence says even if we don't become major policymakers, the way we make individual decisions that is informed by the practices of debate. The fairness argument is basically conceding the Galloway evidence says that it turns all their inclusion arguments. This is not a cry out for fairness, but instead a reason why we should get to evaluate and weigh the ground that we have spent a year researching government policy making is our second piece of offense. You learning the skills to demonstrate federal government policy making is uniquely good. All of his arguments about why it is bad and the status quo and flawed is the reason why you should practice the dark arts of hop evidence is phenomenal, as well as Asperg and taken evidence. All of his arguments are all the more reason you should have to defend the USFG in the context of the debate space. We become better at breaking it down. If it is true that we understand the way that federal policy making happens, we are better advocates at reforming that system. Third is suicide debate. Our Keller evidence says that the only way to challenge our own personal ideologies by engaging in opposing viewpoints. If you think the federal government is a bad actor, it's good to practice defending that. That is true in the context of things like white supremacists. You should have to challenge the way you personally feel, even if the app is a good idea. That model endorses one that leaves people entrenched in same status quo. Fourth is energy debate. We must engage in institutions in the context of green politics to overcome the elite control and effectually change. This is the DA, the advocates, emphasize individual action, personal responsibility at the expense of broader institutional focus. They continue to crowd out language is explaining the terms and evidence that in fact always take Taylor to create public consciousness to shift their engagement in students in this space of humanity, social science, drive home. Lots also to lead to continuing control, massive death from pollution and emissions. This is an amendment framework customer who's a reductive means of engaging. That's the one in our see the hanger of the sense technocratic discussions important when coupled with effective decision making. This is their uniqueness argument so kind they continue the stage. Our link arguments for sailing inclusive and facility and conscious subjective can people start taking action and applying them from coalition to that warming. It's obviously gradual. It's so important to get progress hitting points after far too years. This cuts both ways. They have been running a very similar argument to GSU and haven't drastically changed made it or inclusive. They're right about their claims. Winning Cena should have already solved their offense and not our uniqueness argument doesn't respond to any of our arguments. It's a question about the method of debate, which is their interpretation as well. There is no justification for why the method that we endorse is necessarily white in the hop evidence proves that endorsing it in the context of debate makes us more effective. I will answer their community inclusion argument here versus the question. Running those arguments on the negative is not an argument he deals with very well. Secondly, trying it and tying it together is more constructive. Our combine evidence proves that their stylistic change is better. Their inclusion arguments also that voting for them is necessary for inclusion, that voting against them is an act of exclusion. This is inaccurate and a bad model. Voting against them just means that they did not win the debate, not that they are not part of the community. Let's reform accessibility by endorsing broader change. How can voting out be the only means of tying their method to wins and losses is destructive for accessibility because it requires negating the inclusion of the other team. Because you are a judge, you have to vote against someone. Nothing about the structural argumentation means that it's necessarily excludes. There's no stylistic argument. The Anderson evidence and the truancy and the wonder dog is phenomenal. Arguments like Thurberg don't injure people, but policies do, which is why you should be responsible for producing an argument that allows us to clash the burden for Jordan framework itself is not forceful oppression. It's simply an advocacy on behalf of a certain style of decision making. The permutation, the link, the narratives argument I will answer here. There is a way to include narratives and arguments. The content evidence from the truancy, the case we wrote, the combining narrative and political action is more effective. This is not impact term because our argument is that narrative is able to be negated by the other team and discussed when it is tied to a particular proposal. Her argument doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a question of method which you have not engaged in. There is not a psychic violence impact focused on inner psychic violence fails to create normative or political restrictions. It means that we never evaluate the intersubjective relation. That's the Anderson evidence. Also, it fails to create broader spillover evidence. Our lot of impacting it is not falsifiable. Yes, there might be some concrete effectuated change that is possible in a world of the negative, and in a world of our interpretation of debate is only available if you endorse a particular model which allows the other team to engage in the non-falsifiable argument. It's not true. The missions argument is effectively changed that work inside the overview. There are confines of the debate space is the reason why you should endorse a certain method and process of debate which we have defended. The authenticity arguments do not cut against ours. Yes, your narrative and perspective is important, but this is a process that has to have a negative opposition to it. If you tie that question to the ballot, it requires you to negate an opposing team. It requires you to negate personal identity, which is uniquely worse to their impacts.
Is everybody ready? Yeah. All right.
The role of the ballot in this debate is for you to vote for the team that best performatively and methodologically brings the debate back home. I don't think they have really answered this well. Our argument is about performance and method. They are so reliant on method, which is an attempt to separate our theory from our flesh, which is our uniqueness argument that core bodies are not allowed in their debate space. All of their evidence assumes the role of a good citizen or an engaged student in a democratic society. All of these assume an equal playing field for people, but without a discussion of the access or even the right to have a home in the first place. This leaves the black bars out. Our Johnson evidence says that core bodies situate themselves in a moment of self to be self-reflective that enables them to speak out as a way to engage and change our relationship to the world and also to ourselves, which says that regardless of whether or not we're using the tools of the master or if we're just simply talking out in the spaces that we have inevitably made our home inside of here, which means that we can be the activist agents of change. Our accessibility arguments then become a multiplier for our arguments. They have no explanation of why it is that they can engage with queer bodies inside of this particular space. This doesn't even come out of the affirmative mouth, which proves how their method of debate will require us to do it on the negative or have a topical version of the app. All of that shit normalizes the way in which debate functions, which is why our criticism of black and queer is one that allows for us to truly disidentify with the structures in which they say that we need to have. It's always about something out there. It's always about a broader fucking struggle, but the question then becomes, how broad do we get? When does their research model ever access our portion of the library? When do we have a discussion about those individuals? Their method of debate then becomes foreclosed to those individuals who have already had access to home now. The 1AR argument goes conceded that black bar bodies do not have a space that they can call home right now, and the ballot is what allows you to create that potential space, because it says, as our Lindbergh evidence, we need to join these struggles together. We need to hold hands and be Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and ease on down the road together, which is exactly what our affirmative is. It allows us as car bodies to raise the questions of why is it that in debates it's a question of either or instead of and. Their notions of fairness is one that is always prefigured, because debate isn't fair for who now? Debate is equal for who now? It still leaves us out when we talk about psychological violence that is required from a discussion of engagement with policies, and the kids in the back of this room clap as a form of telling you that this shit is real and is quantifiable, especially in front of your face. We want to turn a blind eye to that type of bullshit. This is what needs to be corrected in the debate space. The fact of which is that some people can come in here and establish a place where they can critique and be self-critical inside of this space. She said that you are supposed to engage in these debates from the opposite view, but she concedes also that she never done these type of debates. She doesn't engage. She never switches sides. She has dedicated her debate career to making debate not a home for individuals. This is why this round is crucial. We can fucking unite the crowd. Winning CETA doesn't solve. It allows us to connect the people's tournament to the most elitist tournament of them all, that allows us to speak through core identities that our Johnson evidence says that we can disidentify with, that allows us to work on and against the systems of oppression, which means that we allow for a better debate space that is inclusive of the individuals that is in this particular room right now. You make this argument that it's about limitations in deliberation, but you have yet to answer the 1&T cross-sex question of who has access to the deliberation process. Now you still are able to determine the confines and the practices of debate for us. You should ask a serious question when you sign your ballot for the negative team. Why do I have to make a forced choice? Why is it do I gotta relegate another team to the exclusion? Especially when they don't have another place to go. When debate has been the place where I've come to share my views, perspectives, and opinions about a given subject, this is all the fuck I got. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do when this debate is over. I don't know how the hell I'm gonna situate myself, but I know one thing that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make room for those other queer bodies that have never, ever fucking had a right to speak and have a debate in their own fucking house. Nobody asked me about energy production. Nobody asked me what it means to get out of bed in the morning, which is why it is that you never, ever fucking access me. We are the education that your model of debate precludes, because we can teach you some shit about yourself and how you're complacent with the strategies in debate that allow us to be exclusionary to other individuals. Our of the time I've been in debate, I've never fucking had a partner where I can just talk about being me, the way that being black, queer, Christian, and all of that shit situates me inside of this space. Today is the day that we unite the crowns. A pen or a piece of paper to understand the way that they require a scriptocentric approach from an affirmative that it relies through a performance through the body, excludes us from even the discussion of the education you say is so fucking liberatory. We don't get to liberate ourselves, which is why Johnson evidence says that we need spaces to carve back. They have conceded the role of the judge in this round, which could be ethical educators with a vested interest in preserving accessible spaces for people to have this conversation. I think that's a reason to vote affirmative in this debate. Let's move on down the road.